I have an idea. Let us paint between what we have painted. Welcome back again, chromatic friends. This time we're laying down some essential salts, collecting more fundamentals into the encyclopedia of knowledge created here. Thank you for your support on Patreon. And this time around we're talking about dark lining, also known as black lining, a quick and effective way to separate surfaces and essential for creating contrast and that needle-tight division needed for painting very tiny models. So let's have a look at how it's broken down. First of all, let's have a look at it in the flat space. I want to show you something. You can see the amount of pressure I apply will directly relate to the width of the line. So you're going to be pressing softly, just sweeping with a very tiny tip of the brush. My line's a little wavy, but it's easier on the model. It can help to just kind of get the feel for the brush stroke and notice that I'm leading it along. Let's also talk about consistency. You don't want the paint too heavily diluted, but you want a certain amount of water involved to aid in the flow of the paint. So if I go in and apply too diluted of a line, you can see it's not going to have quite the impact I'm after. I want a nice deep crevice. When I'm creating these lines, I would say it's about 20% water, 80% paint. I'll give you a nice flow. So keep that in mind as we move through the next stage on the model. And of course, learning is based on failure, so don't worry too much if your first try isn't completely successful. Now for the beast itself. My target is this crease right between the panel and the trim. Speaking of leading it along, you see I hold my brush at an angle and I'm pulling it through that groove. I'm pulling it through the 90-degree corner angle that's created there. So my line is a little wavy on the piece of card, but if I just lead it through that natural, that sculpted crevice, it's going to be pushing my bristles into place. Just press very lightly, of course. And like everything else in the painting process, there's a back and forth nature. If anything looks a little rough, I may have some occasional snags. Ideally it comes out perfect, but if it doesn't, you can work on both sides of the line, just taking this original bright yellow into play. Just hemming things up, no problem. Keep in mind a lot of people refer to this technique as black lining. That's why I titled it as dark lining, just to imply that you can line with any color. Naturally I use black in the example here, but the previous areas I was mixing a little bit of a terracotta brown in with the black. I just want to make sure, even with the dark lines, that I still have some kind of subtle connection to the colors around. But there you have it, just a nice, simple, beginner technique. Really helps to sharpen things up, and you'd be surprised the impact that it can create just through the combination of highlights, washes, and dark lines. How sweet it is. And there you have it, living on a razor's edge, trying to divide the line and find the space in between. It's very fun lining up this Warhound Titan. The yellow versus the dark surroundings is very impactful. I know this technique might seem a little bit tedious, but with some practice, your aim will be true, and it is very useful for creating a sharp contrast on small models that may not normally collect shadows the way they do at life size. Thank you for watching this video, and I appreciate your support, as always, on Patreon. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Check out my Patreon. None of this would be possible without my friends on Patreon. So until we meet again on down that chromatic trail, possibly at Adepticon, remain